Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Unboxing Theories. Obviously, I am back in action now that we have had Louis' return, or Louis' album, Louis' music video, all that stuff. All of it came out. So excited, as you can hear. Before I go forward with the theorizing, I just wanted to say that I'm going to be trying to do things a little differently. Before, I used to write out an entire script and talk from that, but I always felt like I sounded a little stilted, a little awkward. So I'm just going to try and work from bullet points or other things now so that I sound a little more natural, and just let me know what you think. Hopefully I do sound a little more natural, kind of like I'm just having a conversation with you guys. There might be a few more like awkwardness or ums or uhs or whatever, but hopefully it sounds a little better. So basically, I'm going to be briefly talking about my initial thoughts. I don't think this is really going to be a full theory yet because there's a lot I'm still kind of working out, but I just kind of wanted to get in here and put something up because I know we're all excited about it, and just wanted to get something out there. So the main thing that I'm looking at right now is the lyrics. The music video itself is gorgeous. A lot of really interesting things happen. It's very unique in the way it looks and in the things that we see. We see a lot of modern things and a lot of old-timey things mixed together, which I thought was really interesting. I kind of felt like when I saw that in the initial trailer that like Louis reading a modern book and all these different things, I felt like, well, maybe this is a narrative that we can't trust. But now I don't think that's really the case. I really think it is just them showing us that he's going to live forever. He's going to have all these experiences. I don't know if we're literally seeing into the future or if this is how his kingdom is. His kingdom is just modern with a mix of not modern. Anyway, so we'll get into that. But the music video itself is not like a narrative as we've seen before. It's not like Arthur, whose narrative was pretty plain and easy to see in him restoring his kingdom. We saw, his kingdom was wreaked with havoc, lots of fires in his kingdom. We saw him working to find a way to restore the throne. It was all very solid story points that were happening. And of course, in the last one, the most recent one in Dan's era, again, it was that same, like, here's the narrative. It's a plain to see story as the beats happen. This one, not so many story beats happen. It's almost like we're just kind of seeing just events that are occurring in his kingdom. It's just the masquerade, and it's not so much a forward, like, moving narrative. It's more like, I'm trying to think of the word, that it's more like us kind of just seeing into Louis, how he's living, and kind of maybe it's more figurative than literal, I don't know. But anyway, really the treasure trove here of information is in the lyrics itself. So I'm going to go through the lyrics a little bit and just kind of point out the ones that I especially really stood out to me. But in the lyrics, we really get the narrative. That's where it all comes to fruition, because we don't see Louis fighting anything. In fact, this is the only music video that we've ever seen where Louis is a king who seems like he is perfectly fine. He is set in his kingdom. He is not having any strife. His people seem happy to have him there. They're, having parties together. There is definitely things that are happening in there that make me curious, like all the whispering, Arthur whispering to Dan, Arthur whispering to Ivan, Juan whispering to Ivan. There's stuff that seems to be happening in the background that seems a little shady. Even the masquerade seemed a little bit like, what's going on here? But overall, like, things seemed to be going well. But in the lyrics, we discover that there is a lot of struggle for our king. So obviously, the first part of the song, he speaks this part, which I absolutely love. This really set the tone for the music video, which is, time goes on, a lot of things are destroyed and gone, but I always exist. I protect my kingdom. So that obviously gave us right away. We know that he is an eternal king for whatever reason. I mean, we didn't really see him being very vampiric in the way that I was expecting. I was expecting that to be a much more heavy tone. Really, the main thing that we saw from that was the immortality. That's really what they want to show us. He's immortal. We didn't necessarily see him drinking blood. We didn't necessarily see him eating anybody, or anything like that. The only supernatural ability that he really seems to have is this ability to maybe stop time. because it happens a couple of times. And, well, I guess not maybe, his ability to stop time, but I just wonder if that's another thing that's maybe not as literal. But anyway, we'll get into that. And his immortality. So he has those two things for sure. But we do know, here he is, he exists, he's always protected his kingdom. And now in the lyrics, a lot of the lyrics talk about just the loneliness that he's experiencing. He's a lonely child stopped in time. He's confused. He's in the eye of the storm. He's the only light in the thick darkness that is burning me. Now that is a continual theme. He's this light in this darkness, and this darkness is trying to consume him. And now here's where I think the battle is happening. There is a battle of good and evil. What I kind of felt after reading these lyrics was that there is some great darkness that is in his kingdom or surrounding his kingdom or wanting to consume his kingdom, but he is the only reason why that darkness hasn't overtaken his kingdom. His eternal kingdom is the only reason why it hasn't overcome. And if he was to somehow be gone, then the darkness would take over. That's kind of the vibe that I got. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I kind of felt like this darkness he was talking about is the same darkness that maybe afflicts Ivan in Black Crown, that dark entity, or the other kings have a lot of alluding to darkness. There's something out there that is attacking the kings, and a lot of times they end up losing their kingdom. Somehow Louis has been able to keep his kingdom, perhaps because of his immortality. A lot of the lyrics, again, talk about being on his own. He's trapped on an island of time called eternity. It's a very, that weight of immortality. It's not all fun and games. It's really, really hard. And that kind of thing. And he talks often, there's two areas that says, it's another me who's protecting me, which I think that's him saying, I'm the only one that can protect myself, kind of thing. I feel like that's kind of the vibe from that, which is probably right. Of course, with this immortality thing, I am once again curious about the immortality of the other kings. Are they immortal or not? Is this something that, because he, at the beginning, once again, let's go back into the music video. At the beginning, when he's saying his first line, he says that ages, things are destroyed and gone. And we see images of him from past eras. And so we know that those are ages past. Those are the things that he's seen destroyed and gone. And so that, again, leaves me to believe that those happened all before him. So, this is a later era. If we're looking in the timeline and you see me messing around with the timeline, saying, I wonder where this fits, well, he made it conclusive that, all these things have happened in the past before him. And, so that leads me to believe that those maybe happened a while ago, maybe not, maybe that's just my assumption. But the kings are still with him. And does that mean that the kings have some level of immortality? Is he able to give them some level of immortality? Or are they eventually going to fade and pass away? Is there an element of rebirth? He does mention that in his song later. Are the kings reincarnated and he's able to find them over time? That would be a really interesting element, and kind of something that we saw in Dan's era with the phoenix. Obviously, when the phoenix rises, right, and it burns out, and then the ashes, and then once again it'll rise from its own ashes. Is it something like that? I don't know. I don't really have any context behind what the state of the other kings might be. So, moving forward, other things that I really liked about these lyrics, I just want to go through it quickly. Probably my favorite one, and I think the one that kind of really stands as this big, strong lyric, is a finale that is never given to this soul who turned against the world. So there's a lot in there. Obviously, we know he doesn't get his finale. He doesn't get to die because he's eternal. He cannot die. So he never gets that finale, which kind of almost seems like maybe he wants it. Maybe he wants to pass on and not have this continual burden. But then it also says that he turned against the world. So what does that mean? Does that mean that he did something to gain his immortality? He hasn't always been immortal, and he did something maybe bad to gain his immortality. Just kind of an interesting aspect there, and I wonder what that might be. Of course, there's more lyrics like a beautiful beautiful things lose their scent as time goes on, souls that wither away cruelly. So this is kind of, I think, Louis just looking at everything around him. Everything withers and dies, but he doesn't. And it's just that sadness. But then there's also the lyrics that's like, I'll break all the rules. So again, this could just be, humans are supposed to pass away over time and he doesn't. Is that the rule he's breaking, or did he break something else in order to become immortal? It's just curious. I don't know right now. I kind of feel like that's the vibe, but I really don't know. And then there is a triumphant moment in this music, in the lyrics as well, because early on he says that, he's closing his eyes before the sun that rose again. And he doesn't want, it's like he doesn't want to face the next morning. He doesn't want to see the next morning happen. But then near the end of that, we see that he opens his closed eyes. It says, the moment I open my closed eyes before the sunlight rose again, even if everything changes, I will stand here. I'll burn without fear. So, he finally faces, okay, I can do this. I can run this kingdom. I can take care of everybody. I'm going to continue to do this. So there's a triumphant ending for this one, which is really interesting. And then one of the other lyrics that caught my eye was, burn until the deep darkness lifts. So, he's this light against this darkness. And I just wonder, and at some point in the lyrics as well, he mentions the darkness being inside him. So there could be like maybe an element of something that tried to take over him and didn't, or is it just this deep darkness that is around his kingdom, surrounding his kingdom, perhaps surrounding the other kingdoms, and he is preventing it from getting in? Again, I just kind of feel like that might be the vibe. And then one of the last lyrics before Long Live the King is, I am reborn here against fate. So interesting. A lot of destiny and fate is woven, like I've said, throughout this series. And a lot of times it seems like destiny is on their side. It seems like, well, for the most part, sometimes in the more tragic ones, they are turning their back on the world. Like in Karma, Dan has a lot to say about being kind of like, what's fate doing with me kind of thing. So that's interesting. But here we see him being defined in two different ways, right? So he's mentioned that he's turned his back against the world. And now he's mentioned that he's reborn against fate. So reborn is interesting, because if he's eternal, then how is he reborn? I don't know. I really don't. I'm not quite sure I understand that yet. But we know that whatever the case may be, whether it was him being a regular human and gaining his immortality in a bad, in maybe a way he shouldn't have gained his immortality, and that is his rebirth, right, against fate, or whatever the case may be, he definitely did something that he shouldn't have done to gain his immortality, possibly. This is totally me theorizing. That's just what the feeling I get from the lyrics. But then I like the rebirth. It kind of reminded me of Ascension as well. Dan has a lot to say about, well, he said, I'll return when I ascend, I will ascend. Kind of gave me the same vibe with that. I don't know. Anyway, this is kind of going on a little bit longer than I wanted to, just me talking about the lyrics, so I apologize for that. These are literally just my initial thoughts, and I don't really have much to go on yet, theorizing-wise. I think this one is going to be quite different for me than the past ones, because again, the narrative is not quite as obvious. It's more tucked into the lyrics than it is in the music video itself, which I think is great. The lyrics are gorgeous. It's such a great song. Please listen to Long Live the King. It is a great, great song, and I think everyone would enjoy it. And the aesthetics of the music video are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this is the kingdom of aesthetics, guys. You gotta enjoy it. But I think I'm gonna leave it there. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about the lyrics, if you've looked into the lyrics at all. If anyone would like me to just maybe do a video just reading the lyrics and my interpretation of them, I guess I kind of did that right here. So I guess I don't need to do that twice. But anyway, if anybody has their thoughts on what the lyrics might mean, I'd love to hear it. And I hope this video was good with me following, just reading the lyrics instead of having it all written out thoroughly. So I hope it sounded good. Anyway, so happy theorizing, everybody. Happy comeback season, King Me's, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much.